Vivek Ramaswamy shuts down the Republican debates last night. In this viral moment, the largest pop of the night from the crowd came for him in his closing arguments, and today we're going to be going over that. If you're new to this channel, my name is Aaron. I do Christian commentary on culture, and I'm excited to get to you this viral clip in that moment, and let's get right into this closing statements.
Mr. Ramaswamy.
I was born in 1985, and I grew up into a generation where we were taught to celebrate our diversity and our differences so much that we forgot all of the ways we are really just the same as Americans, bound by a common set of ideals that set this nation into motion in 1776. And this is our moment to revive those common ideals. God is real. There are two genders. Fossil fuels are a requirement for human prosperity. Reverse racism is racism. An open border is not a border. Parents determine the education of their children. The nuclear family is the greatest form of governance known to man. Capitalism lifts us up from poverty. There are 3 branches of government, not 4. And the U.S. Constitution, it is the strongest guarantor of freedom in human history. That is what won us the American Revolution. That is what will win us the revolution of 2024. Thanks for letting me introduce myself tonight. Thank you.
And you see some of that pop there, and we're gonna go right into his, like, I guess, tenets, as it were. And I think these are good for us to go through, especially as Christians, to see where do we fit into this. So let's just start with the first one: God is real. Now, you should know that Vivek Ramaswamy is not a Christian; he's Hindu. So his view of God and the salvation and concept of sin and maybe even morality is not from the Bible. Maybe it lines, but is not from the Bible, right? So his concept of God is not the same as ours. His concept of sanctification, or rather, the morality or how someone should conduct themselves, might not be the same. And I had a question earlier in earlier videos, is like, can we have the same values from 2 different sources, or rather 2 different gods? For me, this isn't a political channel. However, I do think that he's running for president and he's not running for my pastor. And so that doesn't disqualify, on that alone, that doesn't disqualify him from being a good president. And that's why I don't, that's not too much bearing on my choice for who I'm going to vote for as president. But just so you know that, God is real. And I think he's the only one pushing this agenda and making that number 1 on his itineraries here. And that might be because people don't know him, so he has to list his stuff up front. Number 2, there are 2 genders. And yeah, obviously, God made a created order. He created woman and man and Adam and Eve. There is no... I can't reconcile that as a Christian. I can't reconcile that as someone who believes the Bible and has that as the highest authority in his life. There are not 2 genders. There's not. It's silly. It's kind of silly to think that, and to separate that from sex and all of that. It's just, at least I could say this. I mean, you could debate me if you want in the comment section or whatever. We could say this, that if you hold the Bible to the highest authority in your life, I don't think you could come to that conclusion. I don't think that's possible. Number 3, human flourishing requires fossil fuels. This is the one that I probably most disagree with. However, let me just state up front that I have heard stories of how recycling happens, where they won't recycle the stuff that you throw in the recycling bin because of some low threshold level that it doesn't meet, like it's got some kind of ring around it or whatever. I'm not sure if that's totally true. I think it is. However, I just, even the process of making the batteries, all the energy that it requires to make a battery, and battery disposal, those things I know that is bad, and I'm no expert in this field. But I do kind of disagree with this, and the reason why is because, look, human flourishing has happened without fossil fuels, and human flourishing can certainly happen without it in the future, especially if you're using some kind of different energy source. But so I'm not really all for this one because I see kind of the backhanded thing. I feel like that climate stuff is just a way to move around a lot of money without really doing anything or adding value to anywhere. But that's just like kind of an open-handed issue that I don't really have for it. And so far as the Christian perspective is, yeah, God has commanded us to cultivate this world. This is like the first commandment in Genesis, right? Subdue the earth. And so this is one of those things like, do you think this is subduing the earth? Or are we destroying it? And that's one of those things that we could kind of talk more about that in a separate video. This is not for that. I have a lot of thoughts on that we could dissect further. But let me know, do you agree with this point? Number 3, can human flourishing, does it require, key and operating word, require fossil fuels? Anyway, number 4, reverse racism. Now, from a biblical perspective, I firmly believe that if you want to look at racism, look at the Bible. Let me finish my statement. If you want to look at racism, look at the Bible, because you could look at the Jews. They have been the recipients of the most extreme forms of racism for the longest period of time. In my lizard brain, I don't think black people have experienced racism as far as the Jews have. I don't think any other society or group of people have experienced the intense persecution and racism that the Jews have. I mean, they've had it pretty tough. And then on top of that, they can also be racist, right? Like, this is the Jews to the Gentiles thing. Like, like it's kind of racist. You Jews, that you got some of those laws going on. But as a God of the Bible who stands against racism, who says in Romans that, that you should not show partiality, like, God is here for all people. He's saved all types of people. Actually, John 3:16, for God to love the world, and in that world, it means every type of person in the world. So every country, every type of person. It doesn't mean every person, but every type of person. And so, yeah, racism, reverse racism, all that racism stands contradictory to God. I don't see how you could hold the Bible to the highest authority in your life and have racism or reverse racism, right? God saves the white people too, like it's totally true. Number 5, an open border is no border. And this is one that's contentious. I'm not too sure if the open border is really something that the Bible speaks to. However, the Bible does speak to immigration and migrants and the foreigner, and there's a lot of Old Testament laws that take care of foreigners, and we see ourselves as foreigners in this world. We are not of this world. Our citizenship is in heaven. So I think this is more to a mercy aspect. There is aspects of Christianity that could be less merciful, and really self-righteous, indignant. You're not caring for people that are coming through and that are suffering and all that. So this is like a wider argument and debate, and certainly the nuances and details matter in here. But as a Christian, I think that one thing that should not be lost on us is the ethic of mercy in this border debate and class. Like, you could have an open and closed border or whatever you want and have certain restrictions or have less restrictions, but to lack the mercy, I mean, that would be a loss on the whole ethic of having a border in the first place. Number 6, parents determine the education of their children. I think this is really fascinating because for conceivable past, education I've known it has been to make someone a better person. But somewhere along the line recently, education has been to make someone get a better job. And that's just not true. Like, education is not to get a better job. Education is to make a better person. And to do that, you have to instill values, proper values into the children, right? Education, instruct, the Bible talks about this, in various places. And so when we're choosing education for children, as parents, we should be choosing who or what set of curriculum will instill the best values that we want in our children. The best values that we want are probably a good place to start is the 10 Commandments. Probably a good place to start is the fruit of the Spirit. Those are probably 2 really, really good places to start. And whatever education lands us there, I think that's a good place to start. And that's not the only place, rather, it's just a good place to start. And so, yeah, I totally understand and agree and affirm that the parents determine the education of their children. Number 7, the nuclear family is the greatest form of government known to mankind. I'm going to take this as its ethic. However, I think the greatest form of governance known to mankind is the kingship of God on high, of the biblical God rather, because he's Hindu. Is that that governance, right, of biblical authority in your life is the greatest form of government known to mankind. When we say that Jesus is King or Christ is Lord, that means we submit to the authority of God, of the Bible, that if we have an opinion and the Bible has the opposite opinion, we're wrong and the Bible's right. Okay, so let's just take it from there. But the nuclear family is important now because of the cultural climate of our time. And I would say that the nuclear family, aside from the Bible, right? I think he's right, right? The greatest form of governance on, if it is guided by biblical principles, if the man is willing to die, literally suffer and die for the wife, and if the wife is willing to follow the lead of the man, right? Because naturally the wife can, throw off authority naturally, like women do this, and they throw off the authority, and we've seen this in Eve, right? And naturally men can be selfish and lazy and passive. So God calls men to fight against that and lead, and calls women to fight against that, their inclinations, and follow as equals, of course, as equals. And so don't put words into my mouth. And when God is in the center of all that, then we have some really remarkable flourishing, human flourishing within a nuclear family. Number 8, capitalism lifts people up from poverty. Now, a lot of people might think that capitalism is a bad word because you picture these boardrooms and these big dudes who smoking cigars, stealing all the money, right? That's capitalism to some people. However, I think of capitalism or business of commerce, broken down really simply, you don't do business or exchange money or do business with people you don't like. And how you get them to like each other, or like that there's a mutual benefit, there's a win-win for both parties. And if you think of dollars, not as just dollars, but as thank you notes, like now you're okay with paying someone or giving someone a proper thank you in relation to what they can give you back, right? So you don't feel like they're stealing from you if they're spraying for termites or cleaning your place of work or washing your car. That is the dollars you give them or pay them are thank you notes, and that for the service or product that they have provided you. Now commerce, now capitalism has become a way of saying thanks, of gratitude, and a way to serve a customer, serve somebody. So now you have service and great gratitude mixed in, and that becomes I think the biblical viewpoint of capitalism, that the best business owners are able to provide the most amount of value to the amount of people, to where in turn they are going to thank him or her for that. And so that's my real flushed out definition of capitalism. I'd love to talk about more in another video. Number 9, there are 3 branches of government, not 4. I think the Bible really talks about the importance of recognizing that the government is an authority that is established by God himself, and that we should respect that. This one in particular says the not 4, and that's important because Vivek outlines that there's a middle class or a deep state or some kind of long-term establishment that really guides the country. And I'm not really too sure how much the Bible can speak to that, as far as like he's just saying that there's a conspiracy of deep state things in there. But I agree with that. Yeah, I totally agree with that. And if he's establishing term limits, I think that's a great thing. Number 10, final one. The U.S. Constitution is the strongest guarantor of freedoms in history. I feel like he has to say this because he's Hindu. I think that the Bible is the strongest guarantor, and guarantor is probably an operating word there, but I would say the Bible is the best outlined. I shy away from the word manual, but I guess text that ensures human flourishing with the freedoms in history of mankind. The guarantor, probably U.S. Constitution. But if you take the Bible as the guarantor, like God is the guarantor, you have a debate there. However, I'm American, so yeah, I could resonate with number 10 here. Anyway, let me know what your thoughts are. Let me, especially on number 3. I'm very curious to know about that fossil fuel situation. Thanks so much for watching this channel. My name is Aaron again. If you like this kind of content, hit like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and check out this video on Jordan Peterson and Vivek Ramaswamy as they did a 2-hour-long podcast, and these were the viral clips. Anyway, thanks so much for watching. I'll see you later.